Today's episode of the WAC Podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. Now here are your hosts, Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil.
Welcome everybody into the WAC Podcast. Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil. Excited because we are in the middle of May and it's also championship week for two championships. Eric, you're headed out to our softball tournament in Seattle.
Yeah, we're headed in two different directions. Rachel will be in Seattle, you'll be in Edinburgh. We'll start with the softball tournament. As we've talked about before on the podcast, it's only 4 teams this year. New Mexico State is our number 1 seed. They win the WAC regular season championship. Congratulations to Kathy Rodolph and the Aggies on I believe it's her 6th WAC regular season championship. Number 2 seed is Seattle U. It came right down to the final day. The Redhawks are the number 2 seed and they'll be the host. Number 3 is Grand Canyon. Number 4 is Utah Valley. And all these teams are capable of beating each other. I had a chance last night as we tape this on Tuesday, record this. There's not a videotape involved anymore with the coaches and the broadcast team. So I had a chance to chat with each of the head coaches. Everybody has a really good chance. Only 4 teams, Rachel. So mathematically, there's a 25% chance that each team can win. And obviously New Mexico State, Seattle U would be considered the favorites going in, but Utah Valley is a team that is the real wild card, I think, in this tournament. And also Grand Canyon is a team that's had a lot of success over the years as well. So it'll be a quick tournament in terms of softball, where we have 2 games on Thursday, 3 games on Friday, championship on Saturday with the if necessary game after that. So a much smaller or shorter tournament than we've had in years past, but should be really good. And these teams are so different, Rachel, when you look at them. New Mexico State, I believe Coach Rodolph said 18 freshmen on this year's team. And Nikki Butler, who came back, was the WAC Player of the Year, had an outstanding season in WAC play. She was the Triple Crown champion. She led the league in batting average, home runs, and RBIs within a WAC play. And also they have some outstanding freshmen, obviously, with that many that are playing key roles, and Coach Rodolph doing a fantastic job. They started 1-10 this year. They were on the road for, I believe, 37 days to start the season because of the coronavirus, and they weren't allowed to practice initially in Las Cruces and not able to play until later in the season. So what a season it's been. Seattle U, figure, being at home, that'll be an advantage for them. I did get some bad news during those calls, though, Rachel, with Seattle U, that Nate's Chicken and Waffles, which is a place we've frequented many times during the soccer tournaments, did not make it through the pandemic. And that's right near the softball stadium there. So unfortunately for me, I will need to find some more places to eat in Seattle.
That is tragic news. First of all, yes, I have so many pictures inside of there. Oh my gosh, you just kind of broke my heart there a little bit, Eric. But
yeah, owned by Nate Robinson, the former NBA player and from the Seattle area there. I went to the University of Washington, and unfortunately for him, I guess the most famous thing that he's done recently is get knocked out by Jake Paul. And now his restaurant. So yeah, unfortunate. And our heart does go out to all these businesses that have been lost during the pandemic. But that was one we went to quite a few times over the years.
Oh yes, that is definitely heartbreaking. And I want to go back to softball really quick, Eric. For people who haven't been keeping up, why is the tournament only 4 teams this year?
It's only 4 teams as we're transitioning. So Tarleton, Dixie, CBU, all not eligible for the tournament this year. So we have 7 teams that play WAC softball and only 4 eligible for the NCAA tournament. So that decision was made. We did get an exemption from the NCAA since there are only 4 teams that we were able to keep that automatic qualifier this year. Now, of course, next year with the 4 Texas schools coming in, we'll have a much larger tournament. So it's kind of this in-between tournament this year where last time we played, we had 6 when we still had Bakersfield and Kansas City in the league. This year, there's only 4. Next year could be looking at as many as 8 teams in the tournament. So, of course, with all these changes, which are good, but it'll be a very different looking WAC softball next year.
Lots of changes in the WAC, exciting things to come. And yeah, you mentioned earlier, I'm headed out to Edinburgh, Texas this week. I'll actually leave tomorrow, and it's looking like it's going to be a little bit wet out in Texas.
You and I have talked about the weather for several weeks now, where we're expecting you to be battling 100-degree heat in Edinburgh, and how's our equipment going to function in the heat? And now you're going to, looks like you're going to have rain in Edinburgh. I'm going to be in Seattle, which of course is known for rain, and knock on wood, no rain in the forecast for the tournament.
We'll keep an eye out in Edinburgh for sure. Yeah. Wind and rain are on my future forecast. However, I will be rocking like 80-degree weather, which is pretty perfect. So I'm excited about that. Also to see all of the runners and the jumpers, like everybody who will be out there. There's always like Olympic qualifying times out there for championships. You know, we always see school records, I feel like. So I'm excited to see what can happen this upcoming week, but it should be a lot of fun.
It'll be interesting to see how the weather plays a factor, as you mentioned, wind, in terms of like jumps and throws. That can always play a factor. Running, depending which way the wind is blowing. If it's too strong of a wind, sometimes those times don't count. If you're jumping or sometimes it starts raining, obviously your footing's not going to be as good. So there's a lot of things to be aware of there. And generally speaking, they will still continue a track meet even if it's raining. My former job being in the RMAC in Colorado, we did have a track meet once in Gunnison in May, and as you can imagine, it snowed, and we did have to postpone one of the days. So I have seen a track meet postponed because of weather, but it doesn't happen very often.
I think it's going to be full go unless we have thunder and lightning. Then obviously they've got to delay it for 30 minutes from the last strike. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Everybody can tune in on ESPN Plus for the majority of it. And then also Facebook Live, hopefully, as long as there's weather.
So ESPN Plus on Friday and Saturday. And those
Thursday night on the WAC Digital Network.
Yeah, Thursday on the WAC Digital Network, Friday and Saturday starting at 5 p.m. Central Time. And our good friends, Jonah Goldberg and Brian Smith will be our broadcast team. We've had both guys on the WAC podcast. Jonah, of course, several times, and Brian, the vested one. So we'll have to see if he wears a vest in the rain and 85-degree weather.
We'll see. Great chemistry between the two. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that, everybody. And our next championship, Eric, we've only got one more after these two, and that's baseball coming at the end of May.
Baseball, and we had some really key games this past week. We had Sacramento State visiting California Baptist. They wind up splitting that series, and then Grand Canyon sweeps Dixie State. So right now on top of the WAC standings at 23-5, both Grand Canyon and California Baptist. And they don't play this week, Rachel, but to conclude the regular season, it's California Baptist and Grand Canyon. How fitting is that for potentially the WAC championship for the regular season? Now, CBU, as we've mentioned in other sports, they are not eligible for the WAC baseball tournament as they're transitioning from Division II to Division I, would not be able to get that automatic bid if they won the tournament. So this is a real big thing for them to try to win the regular season title outright. We saw a couple of years ago, remember, we had the three-way tie for the regular season championship, and CBU was a part of that. So what a job they've done in that transition from D1 or D2 to D1. And also Sacramento State, don't look now, Rachel, but 19-13, they would be the number 2 seed in the WAC tournament if it started today. And they have a lot of these guys. You look at the rosters, Matt Smith and Keith Torres and so many players that we've seen in the WAC tournament before, and they've won several WAC tournaments. So could be a lot of fun there, as UTRGV New Mexico State would also be in. And then there's actually something to keep an eye on for that 6th spot right now, as 6 teams will qualify. Dixie and Tarleton also not eligible for the tournament. So Seattle, Northern Colorado, Utah Valley are all within about a game or two of each other. And one of those teams will be the 6th seed in the tournament. And as we've seen before, Rachel, anything can happen in the WAC tournament.
I was just about to say that Sacramento State has taught us that anything can happen in the WAC tournament, as they won a few years ago as the 6th seed or 7th seed. 6th.
I'd have to look that up, Rachel. I don't remember how, but I do know they lost in their first game last tournament, and then had to win 6 to win the championship, including the if necessary game, and that's what they did against Grand Canyon. So right now, as I mentioned, those would be the 1 and 2 seeds if the tournament started today. So could
Anything can happen. That's why we
anything?
play the game. We'll take a look at golf as well here. We will have Gabe Lyson on the podcast here in the next segment. Great conversation. So happy for him. He was able to get the individual championship at our men's golf championship in Nevada 10 days ago, I want to say, maybe 12
Yeah,
days.
somewhere around, I'm
10 days?
losing track of all the dates, Rachel, but yeah, about a week and a half ago.
He was able to do that. So make sure you stick around for that conversation. But there's not just Gabe Lyson for Utah Valley Golf. On the women's side, Victoria Estrada participated in her NCAA regional this past week.
Yeah, as we record this, they had day one on Monday. We're here on Tuesday, so she's probably on the course right now. She shot a 77 on day one. I know not the score she was necessarily looking for, but New Mexico State also in that same regional as they won the WAC Women's Golf Championship. They sit in 11th place, I believe, out of 16 teams in the regional. And Karen Miyamoto shot a 69 on day one, so she's at 7th place in the regional for the women. So that's at Stanford, of course, a powerhouse in many sports, including golf. So good luck to the Aggies and to Victoria Estrada for the remainder of that tournament.
Yeah, good luck to them. And thanks for representing the WAC ladies. We also have a new head coach in the WAC. So Shellis Hyman from GCU men's soccer announced he was retiring after this season. The Lopes did fall in the NCAA tournament, and now they have a new head coach.
Leonard Griffin named head coach at GCU. And, Coach Hyman, we mentioned, I think 40 years as a head coach. Leonard Griffin is 38 years old. So a little different approach, I would imagine, from Coach Griffin, but had been at the University of San Francisco and had a lot of success. Also played at UCLA and also had a professional playing career as well. So I know they are very excited to be getting Coach Griffin at GCU to lead their men's soccer program.
We'll be excited to see what he does in the upcoming years. And then Eric, the next person we're going to talk about, it's been a couple of years since he was in the WAC. However, he's accomplished a lot in that time. I guess even though they've won an NBA championship, we're talking about the Toronto Raptors and Pascal Siakam. However, they were just eliminated, I believe, last night, Eric, but he still had a pretty good Mother's Day.
Yeah, I saw this story on ESPN, Rachel, where Pascal bought a home for his mom, gave it to her on Mother's Day. And, what a great Mother's Day story. What a great, act that is to be able to buy your mom a home. Of course, his dad passed away in 2014 before he got into the WAC. He was the 2016 WAC Player of the Year, and a lot of tragedy in his family. So to be able to do this for his mom is such one of those heartwarming stories. So we retweeted it. So if you want to check that out on our Twitter page, or if you want to see more on either ESPN or Toronto Raptors, that there's several stories on this. But yeah, it's a really good story that Pascal was able to do that.
Beautiful house, and hopefully they enjoy all the memories that come with it. That's going to do it for our part of the WAC podcast. But next up, we're going to have Gabe Lyson on, again, the WAC Men's Golf Individual Championship. A great conversation you're not going to want to miss out on.
Hercules Tires is the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference, and for over 65 years has been providing tires with unbeatable quality at an unmatched value. Whatever the vehicle and whatever the terrain, Hercules Tires invites you to ride on our strength. For a retailer near you, visit HerculesTires.com.
Welcome back to the WAC Podcast. Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil coming at you with Gabe Lyson, the Utah Valley individual champion for men's golf. Gabe, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. We talked a little bit before this call started, but how are you riding the high now heading into regionals?
Yeah, so pretty much once the conference ended, I was still very confident and just on that winning high, and I just transferred all of that energy into what I need to do to prepare for regionals. Kind of analyzed my whole aspect of my game: tee shots, approach shots, wedge shots, putting, and kind of looked at, okay, tee shots and putting are the strongest parts of my game, so I'm gonna keep that going every day, but then really focusing on a couple key wedge shots and just a little bit of a bunker play just to help me kind of advance that game. Because if I think of all those areas kind of combined into one, I know my game can excel on any course in any environment, anywhere.
Gabe, let's back up about 10 days or so to the WAC championships
Yeah.
in Boulder City, Nevada. You go in, you shoot a 65 in round one, I believe the best round of the entire tournament. Did you have an idea that that's how things were going to start off for you?
I actually did not. One thing I did know is I knew the weather was going to pick up on Saturday and possibly be still there on Sunday. So I knew that Friday, I believe it was the only day that I had to go low. And I just gave myself every opportunity. I studied the course for a week before. And then once I got the pin sheets, I was able to really see and visualize where the holes were going to be. And I just saw myself playing well, going low. It was actually, that was my tied best career or best score of my entire career. And in the moment, I didn't know anything. I was just trying to give myself opportunity after opportunity, and the putter really contributed. After I changed up a bunch of putting things coming off the Chambers event a few weeks back, and it just excelled tremendously, and it just allowed me just to kind of get on that confidence high and keep rolling through it. And next thing I know is I finished and I was 65, and that was when I started thinking about it. Beforehand, I was just kind of just in the moment, just trying to give myself as many opportunities as possible.
For somebody who may not know golf, the game of golf, how do
Yeah.
you describe studying? Most people just assume you show up to the course, you hit some balls. So you say you study. What exactly are you studying?
Yeah, so I would go on like Google Earth or I would look on flyovers online. So I would look at the layout of the course and I'd see, okay, this is the shot shape that's going to probably be required here. And then just kind of do that all day and do that constantly every single day. So when I get there, I'm not in a new environment. I've kind of already put myself in that environment. And then on top of that, our coaches and many other schools have a book called Straka, which gives us layouts of the holes, carry distances, and then also green reading abilities. So I look at that, days prior and really see, okay, this is what's going to be required here. So when I go into the practice round, I can really kind of try those shots out and see how they're going to work. And my game was in an excellent shape swinging wise. So I just kept giving myself great tee shots. And as the practice round went on, I just kind of built that confidence of this is actually going to be it. Like, this is my last scheduled event. This is where I'm going to compete. And there was nothing going to be in my way.
We're talking with Gabe Lyson, the individual medalist from men's golf. He'll be heading to the NCAA regionals next week in Washington. Gabe, going back to that 65, which is a number I can't even fathom there. You put the target on your back day one. You shoot a 71 day two, another really nice round. Then day three for the championship, you're in the final group of the day.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea what some of the other golfers had done that day and what score you needed to be the champion?
So I actually did it. And one thing I don't like to do is find out from my coach or know where I'm at in the leaderboard because I love just to play the course. So actually, after round one, Garrison was leading by one. After round two, he was still leading by one from New Mexico State, and I knew that that put the pressure on him. So I became the hunter, and he was the hunted. And I love that because I had no pressure. I wasn't had anything to sleep on, and I was like, I'm going out here, and I have an ambition and a goal. And the final round, as it went on, I had a couple hiccups. I mean, I was like 11, I doubled 11, and I knew that hurt. I didn't really know where that put me, but I was just like, look, we got two par fives. We're just going to try to get this back to even par, maybe one under. And my coach was right there with me the whole time, just, Gabe, you just need pars. After I kept getting a couple of birdies on, I believe it was 13 and 16, he just kept telling me pars, pars. And I kind of had an idea I was in the lead or near the lead, and I didn't know exactly where I was. And it wasn't down till the 18th hole when it was a super hard crosswind off the left side with a really split fairway, hazard left, hazard middle, and hazard right. And I just hit a hard tee shot up the left side and put myself in the best position. And after I hit that second shot into the green to 10 feet, that's when I asked my coach, okay, where do I stand? And he said, you have a one shot lead. And I had a 10 footer to two putt. And that's when I was just like, can't let it settle in now. I kept fighting. And once I hit that putt up to about 5 inches, I knew I had secured the win because I'm not going to miss that putt. And I tapped it in, and that's when everything kind of just dawned on me and filled me with joy. And my team crashed the green when it was remarkable.
I was going to be kind of my next question for you. In that moment, after you hit that putt, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
I was kind of still in a little bit of a shell shock. I just tell myself, you did it. Like, all this training, all this work ethic, and the entire round, I knew I was like in the lead or tied for the lead. And I could tell on 17 when they moved the scorers up and they also had the camera guy show up, I could tell, okay, this is showing, this is a sign of something. So you're doing good things, keep fighting, don't give up, keep fighting. And once I finished, I just looked at my coach and I just like yelled, I did it. Like, this is what I trained for. And it was my last scheduled event. I don't have it like next year. I don't have another year to come back and try to win it. Like, all that work kind of just settled in. And then once all of my teammates, all the boys ran on, it was just like, it was kind of just like a party, just like, the NBA championships when they celebrate. It was just filled with a feeling that I haven't been filled with before.
Whenever you see Justin Guzman was our camera guy, whenever you see
Yes,
him show up, something big is about to happen. We're talking
I
with
do.
Gabe Lyson from Utah Valley. Gabe, the other thing, playing in that final group, you're playing with New Mexico State and Grand Canyon, and they're having, a battle to the bitter end to see who the team champion is. Does that factor in? Does that add to the whole emotion of what's going on there?
Not quite, because I didn't really know where anyone was at. The only thing I did knew is when I was on the 18th green, I could overhear the GCU coach and his player talking, and they did say how this putt was to tie the lead. And I heard that and kind of listened to it, but I was so focused on just keeping my 10-footer within a tap-in range that I kind of any outside force, anyone standing around the green, I kind of just eliminated in my head. I was only focused on that one putt, and I didn't let anything distract me, defer me offline, do anything like that right until I had the opportunity to putt. And I was like, this is your chance. Just hit it up there, either try to make it or just put yourself a nice tap in. And it was just the whole day in the moment, any outside factor or force, I completely eliminated. People watching, the wind and everything. I just like this, none of this is going to defer me away from what my goal is today. And that's to win. And some people like to see where they are on the leaderboard, but that's something I don't, because I like to play the golf course. I don't like to play competitors or anything like that, because if I start playing against them, they may start to play bad and then I'll play bad with them. So I want to play, like, I have a game plan every single day, and I just stick to that. I stuck to that until I pretty much made that 5-incher on 18. And that's when I kind of look back through everything like, wow, it was actually a battle down to the end. I didn't run away with this. It was a one-shot victory, and I gave it everything my all, especially when those winds picked up on that back nine. That's when it got really, really tough, and I just hit the shots that counted.
In your opinion, which day was the hardest?
Definitely Saturday, the second day. That's when the winds, because we prepared for the winds to be from the northwest. And so when I visualized that, I visualized, okay, these shots are going to be into the wind. It's going to be a lot tougher. You're going to have to hit longer shots. And the Saturday was a completely different wind. And I know there was weather advisories, and they were getting up to like 30-mile-an-hour winds. So I just told myself the night before, look, it's gonna be hard out there. Like, it's gonna be tough. No matter what happens, you cannot let anything change your course of action. And I honestly played better than I thought I would have in that win. I kept it right around par, 1 under, and I was like, look, you just gotta get on the green and two, and then your putter will do the work. And it did that all day. And I just kept building on that confidence. And when I finished, I think the only two lowest rounds, I think were 71 or maybe a 70. And I knew that the field, it was just a battle out there. And being able to just still be one back going into the final round was the perfect place I want to be in, because I didn't have that pressure of in the lead, and I became the hunter, like I said, and not the hunted. So I had more fuel in my tank to go after Garrison, and then go after a specific score to help me win.
Gabe, well, you're a graduate student this year. Obviously, last year the season gets canceled. Was there any thought that you wouldn't come back to Utah Valley for that extra year, or did you know all along that this was the plan?
Oh, this was the plan from the start. I knew the second that, or I was very bummed when our season got scheduled, and once I found out the NCAA was allowing another year, I told my coach, no matter, he asked me what my plans were and everything, and I said I'm coming back no matter what. I've been a leader on this team, and in the captain's role, and I was like, I'm not going to give up now. I'm a play until NCAA tells me you can't play no more. So that was my plan from the beginning.
My apologies. I was going to say, though, for a lot of people, golf is an individual game. I think when you look at college golf, it's totally different than any other type of golf. Like, that sounds so weird to say, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. How do you approach being a leader of a team sport that's also very individualized?
Yeah. So one thing I do is I've really focused in on the mental aspect and visualization. So I try to help my teammates kind of see that before the round. I'll tell them a quote, or I'll send them meditation videos at night. Our mental coach, Doc Woods, helps me out with this. And I send them things and I say, watch this, do this. So like when they wake up in the morning, they have a video that they need to watch, helps relax their body. And then, on the way to the course, I try to tell them a couple things here and there and on the range. And right before we go, I always make sure I tell them, good luck, you got this. Like, I pretty much just like, don't let a shot get you ahead. Everything just to help them. It ultimately comes down to them to decide how they'll play. But I try to do everything I can just to kind of give them a little spark before the round to get everyone going in the right direction.
Gabe, the Golf Channel did the selection show last week in New Mexico State, who won the WAC tournament. They're going to be going to Albuquerque. But you as an individual, since you won the WAC tournament, you get to go to the NCAA regionals as well. They send you to a different regional, which is in the state of Washington.
Yes.
And you happen to be from Washington. So
I do.
You know the area? Do you know the course? Have you played it before? What were your thoughts getting to go back home for the regionals?
Oh, being able to go selected in Washington was remarkable. I have actually not been able to play the course, but there are 3 courses in the property. So I've played the 2 others. Just Tumble Creek's a very exclusive country club that no one can really get out to unless you live on the property. So I wasn't able to play there, but I've been actually out to the course one time just to walk, actually not walk, just walk a hole or 2, but I play phenomenally well at the other 2 courses and just in that mountainous environment. It's in the rolling hills in the middle of the Cascade Range in Washington, which is very, very beautiful and just a place that I love to be. I kind of grew up going there throughout my lifetime. So it's a place I'm very comfortable in and very excited to be. And I feel like it's a blessing that I was able to be selected and have some family members and friends come out and support. And with their support, that's going to give me more fuel and more fire in the tank to go out and take this to nationals.
Well, Gabe, thank you so much and congratulations again. And the entire WAC staff will be cheering you on while you're in Washington as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That is Gabe Lyson, our WAC Men's Golf Player of the Year. And I wanted to thank you for joining us on the WAC Podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be another true test down in regionals that you're going to see me slowly pulling through and get it done. And then we'll have another conversation before the national championship.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you again, Gabe.
Thank you.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.